a character. That is you,
Yeah. It's
Chad.
like a
Yeah, that is
There's
me.
that.
Hey, dude.
That caricature is you.
Yeah, I had one of my artist friends draw it for me years ago.
How are you? Good to see you.
Good. I know the last time we chatted, it was at New York Comic Con, David. How have you been since then?
Fantastic. Just been very busy getting the opportunity of a lifetime to get to like tell stories and do the stuff that I love doing and been spending a lot of time with my kiddos and they love a lot of the stuff that I love. So just been trying to make a bunch of stuff. Me and Leah here are just cranking and in the flow right now, which has been really nice. It's exciting and terrifying getting ready to launch a new book, obviously. And we're not launching one, we're launching two books together. And I have a third that just came out. So, very anxious, but also very grateful. And when I get a chance to just been relaxing by playing a lot of Magic the Gathering. That's about it.
So I know that we've kind of David, you and I have talked about your comic book history as a reader and all that. But Leah, tell us a little bit about yourself as a reader of comic books. Do you remember maybe the first one you read, or what got you interested in them?
Yeah, I was always very much a little nerdy kid who loved to do like Saturday morning cartoons and video games, and I always loved just the visuals with all that stuff. And when growing up, I realized that I wasn't the best reader, and books at a certain age, they start to lose their pictures as you get older. And I had a really tough time investing and not being intimidated by novels and books and school books that I think when I would go grocery shopping with my mom and at the end caps I would see comic books, I would always grab them because of the pictures on them. And the stories were coming through not just in words in my own mind, but I was able to just see the art on it. So since a young age, I've always been more of a visual reader, let's say. And I think that's why comic books were such an appeal to me. And my mom always had Archie comics around, and they just were there, so I always was reading those. But as I got older and continued to watch my Saturday morning cartoons and stuff, I started learning about like Batman and Spider-Man and Yu-Gi-Oh! And all these different worlds that were filled with different types of monsters. And I think I became a fan within that. And same with things like Tales from the Crypt and Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? And then learning about EC Comics and all the fun horror they're doing there. And I think I just kind of like leaned into kind of fell naturally and into loving that medium very much.
Leah's also the biggest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan I know. So that is pretty cool.
Hmm. So tell me about, you said that the two books are interconnected. I know the one is Kingdom of Heaven, or sorry, Kingdom of Earth from
Yes.
Dark Horse. And tell us a little bit about, that, give us the elevator pitch and kind of the through storyline.
So we're in a very near future. An apocalyptic event has taken place. The 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 reasoning behind the apocalyptic event is going to be a very fun reveal for our readers. But what has happened is every monster ever imagined in the minds of mankind, going all the way back to, prehistory, biblical Greek mythos, all the way up to the minds of Stephen King and Guillermo del Toro. Every monster ever thought of, everything ever originated, Mary Shelley's masterpiece on down the line, has all risen from the earth and sea. And they rose from the earth and sea in the places from which they originated. So Eastern European monsters all rose in that part of the world. American monsters and myths rose from, and that includes even wherever you're from, Chad, like whatever your small hometown lore may be, whatever ghosts
Urban
there may be,
legends.
whatever urban legend, they rose.
I'm originally from West Virginia, so the Mothman, I guess, is coming
Mothman
back.
is going to be a prominent, important character in this. So in our story now, it's 2 years after this event has taken place. When it happened, those monsters immediately went to work munching every human they could find, decimating civilization, taking over. But eventually that wore down and they realized they were going to wipe all of themselves out. So the monsters tried to figure out a way to build some semblance of organization. Humans have been relegated to cattle. They're basically a food class now, shuttled around in giant pens as food, or a few select number of them have an opportunity to serve the monsters because the monsters are trying to figure out how our transportation, electricity, communication systems all operated. So we're now in the midst of these large regions geographically populated by different monsters that are trying to organize their own societies and governments, if you will, while the humans are just trying to survive. And one lone little young human escapes the food truck one day and sprints off into the dark seeking refuge and finds partnership with the least expected of allies. And that's where Leah and I we always knew that was where our launch point. We also are both people that have significant ties to the Midwest. Leah's a Minnesotan. I'm a Kansas boy, but we met in Chicago 20 years ago and have big ties to Chicago. So we originate our story in kind of that region of the United States.
And what was the inspiration behind the story?
What isn't?
Yeah. I mean, David and I always love to have conversations about the definition of a monster and what that means. And oftentimes they don't look like a monster, they look like a human. And we have conversations about good monsters versus bad monsters. And similar to humans, is there can be that line that they toe. And sometimes when we look big and scary is often an illusion and a mask for things that make us very vulnerable. And monsters we know don't like to be vulnerable. So we thought how fun to make a comic about potentially one that finds vulnerability in themselves and is almost internally battling within it, because of a child that's put in front of them and what they would do with their morality in moments like that.
Yeah, ethics and morality in a world dominated by monsters doesn't sound as far-fetched in 26 as it used to. And thinking about the fragility of political structures and society, when we used to, I think, take for granted notions of democracy and societal norms, and it's just how quickly things can escalate. And all of a sudden, violence, becomes much more acceptable. And we anymore, I think all of us, depending on what your fears may be, if they're fears of change, fears of technology, fears of what's happening in the government, fears of war, fears of environmental crises, it's a frightening time. So we took all of those ideas and we just ramped them up to the top degree we could think of, which is like imagine everyone's. And also, we're nerds who have fun. Like I keep bringing it back to this analogy. I play Magic, and I love in Magic the notion of being able to swing with a Gorgon, at a Medusa who's fighting a creature that comes out of the world of Spider-Man or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, imagine taking all those different worlds and mashing them together and allowing all different kinds of monsters to have to battle it out, just like in Cabin in the Woods.
So, Lee, is this your first experience writing a comic? And a question for David: what have you taken from your past, comic book experiences that you're kind of rolling into this one?
I'll just jump really quick and say Leah and I have written
Yeah,
always scary shit though.
we've done David and I have done a few one shots in with Dark Horse. We've done their Headless Horseman anthology series, which was such a cool opportunity because we got to really have fun with the world of monsters there and dabbling in there. And David and I, he always says that he likes to write with me because I have a big comedy background. So we believe that, and I know many do, that horror and comedy kind of often go hand in hand. So thankfully, with these one shots with DC and Dark Horse that we were able to do, we were able to kind of start to begin our curation of our workflow and our taste. And since we have known each other for so long, we've always throughout the years championed one another, and I think we knew instantly that we were going to be great collaborators. So to be able to do Kingdom of Earth with Dark Horse and also the accessories with Panic and to be able to make them into full um, volumes. To me, this is my first one volume experience with that, and I'm so excited because we have that time to build those worlds. And David and I just love to create worlds, so I feel very lucky.
I'm a nerd for mashups. Like when I was a little boy, I used to trace covers from Marvel because my favorite heroes were in Marvel, and then DC because my favorite villains were in DC. And I used to have Marvel heroes fighting DC villains. And then I started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I thought whenever I would get to utilize and build characters that were martial artists or that came from like I was obsessed with like that silly Americanized, appropriation of Asian culture when it came to movies like American Ninja and stuff when I was a kid. I loved that. So I love the idea of ninjas fighting knights, and then it became samurai fighting knights and mashups like that. So with this, all of my childhood love of lore and legend, myths and monsters, from Dracula and the Wolfman to Pennywise to, Jeffrey Dahmer, like imagine all of these things being thrown in. It's like WrestleMania. It's like we're gonna have a giant Royal Rumble. We're gonna put everybody in a cage match and see who takes control. And again with Leah, I remember we met at this place called Horror Vibes, which is my favorite coffee shop in LA because it's a horror themed coffee shop, and we were talking about what we were working on. This is several years ago, and I was like, we should work on something together because I think, we've been friends for 20 years and we hadn't worked on something together since like 2010. I was like, your stuff is so good and smart and funny, and I know you love monsters. And then we just drove over to like Legacy Effects where they were building monsters, and Leah's also this incredible creature designer. If anybody goes and checks out her Instagram, you'll see all the monsters she makes with latex and foam and rubber and sculpting, and it all just made sense. It's like these are you got to write what you know, and you got to
Mhm.
even if what you're really wanting to write. For me, I'm trying to process all my confusion about agency, identity, safety. What does our culture mean? What does society really? What is there any security in these? Or is it all illusions? These guardrails that we think we have in place for our society. So doing that through monsters,
Mhm.
how fun!
Now, David, did you had a chance to read the first DC Marvel Superman Spider-Man issue?
I'm
Because
going.
He has.
I haven't been to the comic shop in like 3 weeks or a month, and I keep meaning I'm gonna go pick it up. I haven't gotten to read it yet. I'm dying to. I'm so excited.
well, just wait for a few days, and then you'll be able to read the Spider-Man Superman. Well, it looks like we need to get to wrap up, but so if you guys want to kind of pitch what the books and where people can get a hold of you, that'd be great.
Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, comic fans around the world, please check out Kingdom of Earth by David Dastmalchian and Leah Kilpatrick with art by the incredible Sue Lee from Dark Horse Comics. Follow our hero, Frankie, a young child trying to survive and escape being food for an entire society of monsters who have taken over the earth. If you loved Planet of the Apes, Cabin in the Woods, Monster Squad, and everything that's ever had a monster in it, you're going to love this book. And also coming from Dastmalch and Kilpatrick, a new series called The Accessories from Panic. And that is a story of all the great henchmen, Igor, Renfield, and even Mrs. Hyde, working together as a team once they've fled the oppression of their wicked masters, trying to survive in a world where humans think they're just as bad as their old bosses. You can get these stories in your brain, in your hands, at your local comic shop this summer. Again, Dark Horse and Panic. And please go to your local comic shop, support comics. And thank you, Chad. It's so good to talk to you, man.
Well, it's great to touch base with you again. And I know you guys are both busy, but if you ever have free time and would like to do a more long form type of interview, then we'd love to have you over on the Comic Watchers sometime. And hopefully I'll get to see both of you at New York Comic Con this year.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yep.
All
We'll see
righty.
you there, Chad.
Thank you,
All
Chad.
right.
Thanks, buddy.
Take
Seeing
care.
you.
Yep.
Thank you
Bye.
guys.
Bye.